Good evening, Guardians. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Short Pause Presents Tower Talk. I'm Ben. That's Brent. We're here on behalf of Short Pause. www.shortpause.com is the website. So make sure you visit us over here. More importantly, though, make sure you, if you like what we do here, you subscribe to the channel. Jump in the comments. We're live right now. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. So Brent, how you doing, man?
Good, dude. I am a little tired from last week. We did a lot of faction rally. I mean, we did a lot, staying up late, going after the catalyst, going after all the ornament sets. So it was it was pretty busy last week, and it ran its way into this week on Monday night. So we were working hard. Hey, Jonathan's in the chat. How's it going, buddy?
Jonathan, what's up, dude? Yeah, Brent, a very, very busy faction rally, and you grinded away. You got your dead orbit finished up. So you got your graviton lance catalyst. Now you got to work on actually activating that thing, which is a whole nother story.
Oh my god.
But yeah, a lot of work on faction rallies. And speaking of those faction rallies, Future War Cult finally have pulled their first faction rally victory of Destiny 2. So congratulations to them. As predicted, the Future War Cult came out victorious. We all got access to that gun, the Vision, which a lot of people were really itching to get their hands on. I, of course, went with New Monarchy. We did not win this time. Hopefully, the next go around we'll pull out the victory. But yeah, that gun looks like it's gonna be pretty sweet. I haven't fired it yet. I forked out the 50,000 glimmer for it. That was a tough pill to swallow. But I went ahead and grabbed it. I saw some people using it in the Crucible. Got waxed by it a few times. Seems like it's gonna be a good gun. But I believe it has kill clip on it. I think that's the big perk that it has on it, which is an awesome perk. It's one of the best perks in Destiny 2. So to have that in a sidearm is always a welcome addition. Got some interesting stats too, Brent, behind this faction rally. So actually, a sizable percentage of people pledged Dead Orbit over Future War Cult. So 41% of players pledged Dead Orbit, 28% pledged New Monarchy, and 31% pledged Future War Cult. But when all the packages were totaled at the end of it, Future War Cult, 42% of the total faction tokens earned for their faction. Dead Orbit in second place with 37%. New Monarchy just in a distant third, 21% of the faction rally tokens were turned in for them. So that's pretty incredible, man. Obviously, the War Cult, they had enough of this. They're like, look, this is our time right now. Like, we need to rally, we need to get out here, we need to do some work, and they made it happen, man. So kudos to them for getting their first win. Now let's see if we can get New Monarchy their first win of season 3. How do you think that sounds, man?
I think it actually sounds pretty good. I might pledge New Monarchy, but they're the Sweet Business one, right? That's Sweet Business.
Sweet
New
Business.
Monarchy.
Yeah.
I really want Sunshot, and I know Knucklehead Radar is a part of Future War Cult as well. So I still might have to go Future War Cult because I want to get both of those items.
Yeah, the really interesting thing about the Sweet Business Catalyst is it severely reduces flinch when your gun's at full rotation, basically.
Yep.
So if you can imagine Sweet Business and that thing. Basically, it turns you into like Colossus or like a tank, just a piece of iron that's just sitting there, just shooting bullets. And no matter what the enemy does, see that thing's just gonna keep ripping. So that sounds like a pretty sweet addition to that gun. Would definitely like to get my hands on it. I will. Unfortunately, was unable to wrap up my end of the faction rally deal this time around. So I'm gonna need one more rally to finish what I need to do with New Monarchy. But that's okay. I will soldier on. Get that finished up and see where it takes me from there. So a lot to do these days in Destiny 2, Brent. There's we're never wanting for things to do nowadays. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so milestones are not.
Yeah, I was talking about it on Twitter, and it's just the faction rally is now a legitimate event to really like grind out. I mean, before, it was a cool event that you jump into and people pledge to accrue and you get an item at the end. Now it's a legitimate grind. Like, it's a legitimate thing that I look forward to every time it's announced. I'm like, oh, hell yes. And I mean, this last one was proof of that because, dude, I mean, I've put a lot of time into a lot of modes. I was committed. I mean, I think earlier last week I told you, I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to get to level 50. I don't know if I can get this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the Graviton Lance Catalyst. I just don't know if I'm going to get it done. And after that, it's like I kind of like pushed myself by saying that. By doubting myself, I pushed myself. It was kind of a cool way how that worked out. And yeah, man, I mean, I stayed up late into the night, many nights, and I managed to knock it out. And it was just completely worth it. And it felt like, yes, now that's a hobbyist type of activity. That's something I want to get into all the time, every night. Get into this game, grind away. I love it. What's up, Flaro?
Hey, man. Yeah. Not only did you not think that you were gonna finish your level 50 this faction rally, you didn't think you were gonna finish it next faction rally either.
No.
So before this one was over, though, you were done with it. So yeah, you buckled down, spent a few nights going hard, and lo and behold, the Graviton Lance Catalyst is yours. So congratulations, sir.
Thanks, man.
Good work. And yeah, we'll be waiting for the next faction rally, which is not too far away now. We got one more for season 3, so gotta get your licks in.
I mean, what is it? 2 weeks away. We got Iron Banner next week, and then the week after is Faction Rally.
Yeah, yep. We get the new update on the 17th, and along with the new update, Faction Rally starts again, the final one of the season. So be on the lookout for that. So once again, congratulations to Future War Cult. But Brent, there's other stuff going on in the world of Destiny right now.
Sir.
So that was last week. The Faction Rally Winners Week is going on right now, but for all intents and purposes, Faction Rally has come and gone for this most recent edition. Now, Forsaken has been revealed as the Game Informer cover story for this month. So, as always, anytime you get your game on the cover of Game Informer, there's a bunch of new information that's going to come out about your title. Destiny 2 Forsaken is no different, so we can expect a month full of reveals, full of new information, and we've already come out of the blocks firing, Brent. So, interestingly enough, the first thing they did when they revealed the cover is they put together this little trailer that it was like 55 seconds long, gives us a little hint of some of the things that they saw while they were visiting Bungie for this cover story. And this little coverage trailer gave us some very interesting tidbits about this game that hadn't been previously revealed. So I'm just going to touch on them here. So we know there's 9 new supers. They mentioned that they got access to all 9 of them while visiting Bungie, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. We saw what appears to be a new variant of a Warlock grenade in the trailer, where the Warlock throws out some kind of like a bomb that explodes and goes in multiple directions. We got a new look at some of the Scorn enemies that are in the game, so we saw them tangling with some of those guys. Perhaps most interestingly, though, during when they were showing us some of these Scorn, they were showing us what appeared to be a new version of Escalation Protocol in the Tangled Shore. So, Brent, if you look closely at the image we have on the screen here, on the left side, you can see what's it called, the Blind Well.
Blind Well Tier 1.
Tier 1. So that clearly sounds very Escalation Protocol-ish. You want to call it Tier 1, Level 1, whatever you want to call it. And then beneath that, there's something about defeat enemies to charge the well, and it talks about how much what light stored or something like that, something along those lines. And then beneath that, though, we see the very familiar now Escalation Protocol emblems.
Yep.
So you have what appears to be 3 waves of enemies and then a boss wave with that final wave there.
And the thing is, and not to cut you off, man, I'm sorry to do that, but right next to where it says the Blind Well is the little insignia that indicates that it's I mean, it looks like that's the same insignia.
Same exact emblem.
Yep, for Escalation Protocol.
Yeah. So clearly that's on the Tangled Shore, clearly not on Mars. So, Brent, I would say pretty definitively this lets us know that there's going to be some kind of an Escalation Protocol styled activity on the Tangled Shore, does it not?
That's what this looks like.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, right? There's nothing else that this could be. This has the emblem, it has the symbols, has the boss wave, it says Tier 1. This is Escalation Protocol on Tangled Shore, right?
And if that's the case, dude, that's awesome, because you and I have just started playing a lot of Escalation Protocol. We've gotten, I've beaten it a couple times. We won it hard the other night, made it to like level 6, and and it's an event that we're really starting to get into and embracing, because it's super intense. Because even if you lose at level 6, I mean, you get such a taste. You're almost there. You're so close, and you're like, all right, let's do it again. Let's run it back. Yeah. And you just hope everyone stays. So it's proven to be an event that's really fun to play, and that's one that can be quite addictive. The fact that we're going to possibly, what it looks like here, get another location for it off of Mars, somewhere along the Tangled Shore, we're going to see another Escalation Protocol.
Yeah, So that was a very interesting nugget from this trailer here. We also know that they visited a new Gambit map. This one appears to be on Nessus, from what I can tell by the brief little picture they showed us there. We got our first little hint that some of the new public events are going to be taking place on the Tangled Shores. We saw the Rift Generator, which was some kind of defend a generator activity, and then they also had one that said neutralize the cryopod defenders. So not sure what that's going to be about, but both of those sound cool. And then finally, Brent, we got our first hint that what appears to be a new exotic auto rifle, and this was actually an auto rifle. If we put two and two together from the brief snippet they showed in this trailer, for the few seconds it was on the screen as they were talking about this new exotic gun, it looks a lot like that multiple barreled gun that one of the Guardians was using in the original Forsaken trailer. If you remember back some weeks ago. So I don't know. This exotic auto rifle looks pretty sweet, man. Can't wait to learn more about this and get my hands on at least what we think is an auto rifle. I don't know what else it could be, but it looks very much like an auto rifle. So looking forward to seeing what that's all about. Now, moving on from the Forsaken coverage trailer, let's get into the Forsaken coverage proper. And Brent, every single new super in Destiny 2 Forsaken has been talked about. And we've got some more information on each of these now, and these sound really cool. So I'm going to go through each of these with you, man. And as anticipated, not only is there a new super that comes along with these, but there's new abilities that come along with these new supers as well, just like we have abilities in Destiny 2 right now along with each of the supers. So first and foremost, let's talk about the Titans. This is going to be exciting for Dark Shadow Wolf, of course. He is our resident Titan of the Shorepaws Guardians. So first and foremost, we have the Titan Sentinel's Code of the Commander. So with this ability, melees cause explosions, but all void ability damage also attaches a void detonator, and any subsequent damage causes the detonator to go off and attach detonators to enemies caught in the explosion. So if I'm reading that correctly, Brent, it sounds like your melees can basically cause these chain explosions and lay waste to large groups of enemies, maybe in quick fashion.
Wow.
Grenade energy partially recharges for you and nearby allies when detonators trigger. So even better, as you're laying waste to these enemies, your grenade energy is going to get recharged for not only yourself, but for your allies as well. That sounds pretty wicked. And then the Code of the Commander's super move, of course, is the Banner Shield. I get this, Brent. Banner Shield can still be used for offense like normal, but holding guard creates a barrier wall of light that absorbs enemy attacks, but allows ally attacks to pass through.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is something we've actually talked about with Dark Shadow Wolf in the past. We're like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could shoot through the Titan Shield? And lo and behold, with Code of the Commander, the new variation of the Sentinel, it sounds like, Brent, you are going to be able to shoot through the Titan's barrier as an ally.
Wow.
How does this function in PvP, man?
Man, I don't know. I'm worried about that, but I mean, like I said,
like super OP or what?
It could be. I mean, that sounds like it could be pretty tough, man. If your whole squad is just huddled in there.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how big the shield is. It's unclear if this is a huge bubble or if maybe this is just a mobile shield that the Sentinel can carry around with him, and maybe you can get behind, a la what's the guy in Rainbow Six Siege?
Montaigne, something like that,
or something. Yeah. So it could be something like that. It might not be this big, huge like banner that everybody can stand behind. Maybe it's just you can get a few shots in. I don't know. But it could be very, very nasty in the Crucible. That's for sure. Now the Titan Sunbreaker's Code of the Devastator. So this is just sweet names of these things, man. But the Sunbreaker here. So throw your hammer with the melee button, but it remains in the world. Risk retrieving it where it fell to fully recharge your melee ability and trigger health regen. Which is cool. It sounds like you're like Thor.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it sounds like Thor. You throw your hammer and then you just will it back to yourself.
Yeah, you can actually retrieve it, and that's huge, man. Fully recharge your melee ability and trigger health regen.
Wow.
I mean, man, if you're like throwing that thing and laying waste to enemies, and you're just picking it right back up, and it's fully charged, you can whip it again. That could be really nasty. And this is another ability that could be sick. The more solar ability kills you get, the higher your damage, up to 3 times.
Wow.
So, if you're killing things with your melee, you're retrieving your hammer, and your melee charges right back up, and you can keep building up this damage buff up to 3 times. Man, yeah, I mean, you could start throwing that thing and knocking out some like yellow bard enemies. So it could get really nasty. Siege hammer. I love this description. Siege hammer creates a flaming maul that hits like an earthquake and leaves behind flame tornadoes.
Flame tornadoes.
I mean, yeah. So
Wow.
if Sunbreaker wasn't nasty enough, that sounds like a welcome addition to that very offensive class. And then we have a Code of the Missile for the Striker, which we've seen the videos. This one just looks like it's going to be a ton of fun to use. While airborne, melee slam into the ground like a bunker buster and gain super energy for your trouble. So this is really cool. This is a melee where you can jump up and then slam down like in your enemy. It's kind of like a mini super attack, basically. If you pick up ammo while this is huge. If you pick up ammo while sliding, you automatically reload your equipped weapon and increase weapon damage for a short time.
Wow.
So if you are adept at sliding, like if you're one of those guys that slides around the Crucible and shotguns me all the time, I wish you would stop first and foremost. But if you're somebody that can do that, Brent, and you can slide, reload your weapon, and increase weapon damage, I mean, that's going to be extremely nasty in the Crucible, but it's also going to be super useful in PvE as well. That's a sweet ability, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, Thunder Crash sends you hurtling great distances like a missile to hit a targeted area like a meteor strike. So Brent, overall, man, what do you think about what the Titans got coming their way?
You know, the Titans are good people, so I'm really excited to hear that they're getting some nice supers here. And Dark Shadow Wolf is in the chat, and yes, he is very excited.
Oh man, Wolf's in the chat too.
Yeah, the Wolf is here. But no, the Titans are good people, and I'm glad they're going to have a nice set of new supers that it could definitely change the tide of battle, especially in PvE and possibly in PvP with that shield that you can shoot through. So no, nice to see the Titans getting a nice array of abilities here.
Yeah, Wolf, keep your phone handy, man. We'll be calling you for that banner shield when we're in the competitive playlist. Yeah, all right. So moving on from the Titans, Brent, let's get into my baby, the Warlocks.
Mm-hmm.
So the Warlock Voidwalker is getting the Attunement of Fission. A new Atomic Breach melee ability creates a void explosion at range, while holding the grenade button down creates a short-range area explosion supernova. That sounds awesome. Like I don't know a lot about space and stuff, but I know supernovas are badass. To be able to throw a grenade and create a supernova, that sounds pretty sweet to me. Any void ability kills now heal you and grant ability energy. So that's interesting as well. It's very similar to what we were talking about with the Titan there, Brent. If you rack up these ability kills, you can just kind of keep granting ability energy and also heal yourself at the same time, so you can kind of keep that going. And then the super for this class looks awesome. The Nova Warp empowers you with trans-dimensional hopping abilities, letting you repeatedly teleport short distances and then erupt in a burst of energy. So I can't wait to use that one. Looks very Dragon Ball-esque. There's actually a lot of the Warlock stuff looks like something out of Dragon Ball. Specifically this one too, Attunement of Control for the Stormcaller. So tap the listen to this, dude. Tap the melee button to fling out a long-distance electricity ball that eventually detonates and flings a lightning bolt straight downward. So not only is this a ranged melee attack, but once it hits, it sounds like it calls down this electric bolt from above too to do increased damage. Sounds awesome. Arc kills sometimes create ionic traces, a spark of raw arc energy that travels across the ground toward you, which can be collected to recharge your abilities. So the interesting thing about this is it doesn't say arc ability kills. It just says arc kills. So does that mean if I'm using the Risk Runner or if I'm using the Kaibu and I'm shooting enemies, will I create ionic traces that come back to me and replenish my energy?
Wow.
That would be sweet if that's the case. And then Chaos Reach. I can't wait to use this one, dude. Fires a long-range blue beam of intense and focused damage, dealing which can be deactivated early to save energy. So this is huge. So sometimes when you're fighting an enemy, or maybe you call out your super and the enemy either dies quickly or somebody else kills them or somebody else activates the super, maybe you just want to use your super on not a boss character, maybe just a yellow bard enemy that you want to take out quickly. But the ability to deactivate Chaos Reach early and save your energy could be very huge and very strategic as you're making your way through these levels in Destiny 2. But that's an awesome feature. There's no other super that lets you like cancel it halfway through and conserve any of your energy. So that's a very interesting ability there for that one. And then finally, the Dawnblade's Attunement of Grace. So this is really interesting too, Brent, because this is a true support class. Like this version of Dawnblade is all about supporting the team. So melee attacks burn bad guys, but empower allies. So I'm unclear exactly how this works. Either I can melee attack an enemy and then it'll empower my allies, or there's been some thought that maybe I can actually melee my allies and they'll like get healing abilities or something on those lines. So we'll have to see exactly how that works. Transform your grenade by holding the button into a blessing, a projectile that heals allies and drops retrievable overshield orbs. So it sounds like with this class, I can sacrifice my grenade, throw down what's called a blessing, and then heal my allies and give them shields, which once again could be super useful in a number of situations, PvE and PvP. And then the super ability, Well of Radiance. Slam your solar sword into the ground, creating a wide radius aura that rapidly heals and empowers your friends. Any ability that heals or empowers helps regen your non-super abilities. So a very, very team-oriented class there with the Attunement of Grace. Those that are able to support their team with that class, I think are going to be able to really do some damage if they learn that character well. Brent, what do you think about everything we're hearing from the Warlocks here?
It's all right. No,
yeah,
I'm joking.
I know it pains you to talk about them.
It really does. None of this is really impressive, except for the last one that you were talking about, the one that where you can heal people, like the true like team-based class. And I think that makes sense because obviously you need to keep hunters and titans alive to carry your ass through whatever mission we're doing. So I think that's great. That's going to play into helping us out, keeping us alive longer while you do whatever it is you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, what I do behind the scenes is save the team. That's kind of how that goes. Okay. While you're out there, Mr. Big Hunter, like, yeah, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna be at the front of the line and I'm gonna kill all the enemies. Yeah. While you're out there dying, I'm actually saving the team.
Okay, so, totes adorbs. Moving on.
Let's move on to the hunters. So Night Stalker, getting the Way of the Wraith. Your melee smoke bomb heavily damages and slows those in its path. Nail the perfect precision kill against the foe to vanish and gain true sight.
Ooh.
Spectral blades drop you into a veil of shadows to slip behind foes and stab them before they know you're even there. So this sounds like the Blade Dancer version of Night Stalker. Brent, what do you think about this version of Night Stalker?
Dude, I really like this because this will allow you to get behind the enemy, to flank, and take down maybe a yellow barred boss that's creating issues. You know, you get behind there, sneak behind, and get the kill right away behind them before they know what's going on. I love when you can take a character and use like a heavy stealth approach to things. Get behind enemy lines, not always being at the front of the line, killing everybody, but getting behind them and taking out an imminent threat that's causing like problems for the entire squad. So I really like that a lot.
How about the ability to nail the perfect precision kill to vanish and gain true sight? So it sounds to me like possibly anytime you precision kill an enemy, you'll vanish. Like the ability to turn invisible is something we use all the time in Destiny 2. So if you can simply precision kill an enemy and go invisible, that's huge, right?
I mean that's awesome because normally you got to use Shade Step to go invisible or use the cloak or the smoke bomb. But now if you can get precision kills and that makes you invisible, and then you can move around and use True Sight to call things out for your team, I think that is really, really good.
Yeah, so there could be some very interesting uses for that version of the Night Stalker there. As far as the Gunslinger, Brent, getting the Way of 1,000 Cuts. So knife trick melees fling out a fan of burning blades.
Yeah.
So that sounds pretty nasty. Knife throw, already nasty as it is. In turn, killing burning enemies recharges your knife trick, and burning enemies also recharge your dodge. Blade Barrage doubles down on your knife skills to expel a volley of explosive kills, which we saw briefly in the trailer for Forsaken earlier this year. Brent, your thoughts on what we're seeing from the Gunslinger?
This is like basically Danny Trejo's character in Desperado. Desperado's got all the throwing knives, so you can do a lot of damage with those. Though I like this one a lot too. This is the more explosive class. This is the more hey, look at me, I'm a hunter, I'm killing everybody. I like this class as well if I want to go loud and proud.
And then last but certainly not least, the Arc Strider's Way of the Current. So slide before a melee to unleash a staff-powered uppercut, and any melee hits increase your reload speed. That sounds pretty sweet, man. You're just sliding in enemies, and then you come up with this like dragon punch with your staff. That sounds pretty badass. All your arc abilities electrify your enemies, and subsequent melee strikes disorient them and refuel your abilities. Wow. So a lot of abilities here that recharge your abilities and keep them going with all of these classes. Very interesting. And then how about this, Brent? So use your staff super like normal if desired, but Whirlwind Guard, which is the new super, means that you can guard by spinning your staff, reflecting back projectiles, and tripling your staff's damage afterwards. Tripling. That's already a pretty powerful staff, Brent, when you're wielding that thing. But tripling its damage by using Whirlwind Guard, what do you think about that?
That actually is kind of badass. I don't like Arc Strider very much, but this sounds sweet because I keep thinking about the Cabal boss that I think he blinds you, and then he has like a minigun that he starts shooting at you. Man, if you pop this thing and start reflecting back, you know how quickly you're gonna get that triple power. And then you go up and start laying waste to everybody that's around him. That's pretty sweet. Like this will be the first time I really try to learn Arc Strider and appreciate what it does. That sounds like a pretty cool ability as well.
Yeah, the interesting thing about these supers too, Brent, I want to touch on this real quick for you. But how do you think these are gonna fold into the actual like characters of the subclasses themselves? So right now, when you go into your subclass, on the left side you have the main super is like in the middle. It's like a big circle with the super in it, and then around the outside of it you have your grenades, the what you're doing with your special ability, the different variations for that, and then underneath that is the type of jump you're using. Then on the right side of the screen you have your attunements. They're called for warlocks, or with the hunters I assume they're called ways, like they're listed on here. So you have your way of whatever, way of the gunslinger, whatever it's called. And then you have two of those over here. Now from what they're explaining here, it sounds like these are just new attunements for the supers that we already have, but it doesn't seem like there's enough items in here to fill up the attunement. You know, there's 4 abilities in the attunements that we have right now, and what I've read through here, I've read through 3 abilities for each one, and one of those abilities is the actual super itself. So I'm curious how that's all going to work. Like, will you still be able, like, is the new super part of the attunement? Will you still be able to use the old super at the same time? How do you you get what I'm saying? Like, how is this going to be set up on your character?
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. And I I was thinking about that earlier. I'm not really sure how it's going to look, or how it's going to work. I'll be curious to see. Again, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be finding out here in the next couple of weeks through the TWAB and through videos from Bungie, but. No, I am curious to see how that's going to work. Like you said, there's only 3 this time, and it'll be interesting to see how that works with the other one. I can't see us being able to use 2 supers at once. Yeah. But but the one thing that stands out to me, man, as we're going through all these and we're reading through them all these supers sound way more in depth. Like they have way more. Like each attunement has more to it. Like there's more to it than any of the other supers. I'm reading some of these. I'm like, I don't know if I ever want to go back to the other supers. Yeah. All of these things, like you said, it replenishes your energy, or they have super cool effects that can help the team, or this and that. There's just a lot of depth to these supers in my mind compared to the ones that we currently have.
Yeah, I mean, these abilities sound awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, some of this stuff, yeah, we keep regenerating super energy, you're healing yourself, like there's a lot of that kind of stuff in here, and it all sounds really useful. It sounds like you're going to be really powerful using some of these new classes, and yeah, I'm with you, man. It could very well be a case where we get a taste of one of these, and we're like, yeah, there's no going back now. So I can't wait to get my hands on these new supers, see how they play, see how they kind of tie into what we already have. Like when you pick your new attunement, does it just simply replace the old super that's on the left side there with the new one? Is that what happens? I don't know. Are there going to be more to these attunements than what we see here? Because we only see a few bullet points here for each of these things. So is there going to be more? We'll have to wait and see once the game finally comes out. Or like you said, maybe we'll get a video or something from Game Informer that shows how it works. Now, also part of Game Informer's coverage, Brent, they do this thing that they do with all of their cover stories where they rapid fire these questions at the developers. These are always fun videos. They do these for every game, and I always have a good time watching them. But within the silliness that's inherent in these videos, some very interesting nuggets we can pull from this rapid fire question to the Destiny 2 developers, the Forsaken developers. So I'm just gonna run through a list of bullet points that I picked out from this video, and then we can kind of hone in on what's of interest to you. So one of the first things they talked about was the interviewer asked if there were new play spaces in the game, and obviously we know there are. They talked about the Tangled Shore, the Dreaming City. The other thing that they mentioned was the prison, which I thought was interesting. Obviously the prison is a setting in the game, and it's where the game starts. But is this an explorable area on the Tangled Shore? Like, are we going to be able to revisit the prison and go through and learn some of its secrets? Is the prison coming back as some kind of an activity at some point? I just thought it was very interesting that they announced the prison alongside the Tangled Shore and the Dreaming City. So maybe be on the lookout for that. As we just talked about, the supers will have new branches. An interesting one here they slipped in, Brent. Mods will no longer offer a power boost. So clearly, as part of Mods 2.0 or as part of the reboot of the mod system, they will no longer be a part of increasing the power of your Guardian.
So they won't be like a +5.
Yeah, it won't be a +5. So interesting. There will be no Sparrows faster than 160. Must own all expansions to play Forsaken, as we learned previously. It sounds like there's going to be somewhere between 10 and 15 new exotic weapons in the game, alongside some new exotic armor. They're still working on what the number is going to be for the soft cap in regards to the game. So that's the point at which the items in the world or the random drops in the world no longer help you. You need to start doing some of the other activities to kind of build your character up. Lost my place here. Badges will be earned for completing armor sets. So the interviewer asked, will there be anything, any kind of reward or something for completing armor sets? You'll actually earn these badges. Not sure what they do, but there will be badges in the game. As we know, we won't have to worry about shader management. Interesting one here, Brent. Strikes are being added to the map. So once again, something they just kind of slipped in there. But it sounds like we're going to be able to play any type of strike we want at any given time. They're actually going to be on the map as destinations. The question is, will we be able to play them as heroic versions? Will they just be normal strikes? I know you won't be able to activate them as a nightfall, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle strikes on the map. Level 50 is the new level cap, so that's confirmed. 8 Barons, which we'll talk about in a minute. No other paid content drops outside of the annual pass. They are looking to improve the social experience of guided games. There will be new weekly milestones, another one they slipped in here. So maybe some of the stuff we've talked about in the past, like the weekly story mission, heroic story mission, is coming back. But could be any number of things added to the milestones. Maybe they add the weekly Crucible playlist to the milestone list as well. Maybe something like that could be on there. But it'll be interesting to see what new milestones they add. They're looking at some things with heroic strikes and nightfalls, specifically how to make heroic strikes easier and nightfalls harder, which I'm not sure that that's necessary. Gjallarhorn will not be returning. Bungie is interested in cross-platform play. It's something that they've talked about. It is something that they mentioned was kind of like a dream for them at some point in the future, but nothing to announce at this point. There's no fast traveling in the tower, nor are there any plans for it. And how about this, Brent? The campaign is non-linear.
Yes.
Non-linear.
I like that a lot.
They asked how long the campaign would be, and the answer was, it's going to vary for everybody. Yep. So just from what I can guess, from just looking at how the game is set up, it looks like we're going to play through the initial missions in the game. We're going to get into the story. We're going to find out what's going on with these barons. And then at this point, we're going to have to pick and choose which barons we want to attack at which time. And then after that, maybe that'll lead us to the final baron, or that'll lead us to Uldren at that point after we've taken all the barons out. But just if I had to guess, from what they talked about, it seems like that's what the structure would be for this game. And then there will not be a sparrow shaped like a toilet in the game. So we also learned that. So out of everything we learned in this video, Bro, what stands out to you, man?
I really like the fact that strikes are going to be added to the map now. Being able to pick the strike that you want to do. I mean, I think you and I have done the Lake of Shadows maybe 5 times now.
Yeah.
So.
Starting to show up a little bit more now.
Yeah, starting in the rotation a little bit more. But no, being able to choose a strike mission, hopefully you'll be able to play the heroic version of it. If you want to get in there and just keep doing strikes, you can do that and do a specific strike over and over again. I'm not sure what the benefit of that would be, but that's really, really cool. And then, new weekly milestones. I need I need the carrot at the end of the stick, and weekly milestones is that. So more milestones, more stuff to do, make other parts of the game relevant. Like you said, the heroic story missions, there's pretty much no reason to do them right now, except for a couple items I think you can get for Escalation Protocol. But there's really no other reason to jump back and play. So the fact that they're making that is really cool. And then I like how the campaign is non-linear. Hopefully that won't affect the narrative much. Like you said, we'll know at the beginning what happens to Cade. That'll be kind of setting the tone for the story. But hopefully, even though you pick and choose which one you want to do first, doesn't affect the pacing or anything like that, or maybe it's not. Hopefully, it's not too shallow and you're just playing for a cutscene afterwards. Who knows? But I do like the fact that you can choose how you want to go about doing it.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that non-linearity in a second. But real quick, Brent, what I mentioned the weekly heroic story missions, or maybe something to do with the weekly Crucible playlist. Like, is there anything in particular you would want to see added to the weekly milestone list?
Obviously, yeah, heroic story missions. There's a lot of story missions in this game that are really, really good, that are fun to play, and I would love to go back and play them again and then give me a reward for knocking out 3 or 4 of them, or however many you want me to do. So I think that would be really, really cool. In terms of other stuff, it's all going to depend on what other modes we're going to. I'm sure it'd be cool if we got something for Escalation Protocol. There'd be a cool milestone for that, or maybe a milestone for Gambit. I'm sure there'll be some. There has to be something for Gambit. Gambit's its own mode, so I'm sure something for that would be really cool as well. So they've got a lot of options there, and there's some other things I think they can dig up that maybe that could use a little love.
Yeah, I think those are the two logical ones: is Gambit and Escalation Protocol. Adding something like that to the milestone list. Obviously, I don't know what the case will be with Gambit, but it sounds like there's going to be some awesome rewards in there. But with Escalation Protocol, there's already some sick rewards in that event. But being able to earn a powerful engram for going through that activity as well would just be the icing on the cake. So can't wait to see what they do with the weekly milestone list. Now, Brent, let's get into these Barons, dude. So the cover, part of Game Informer's cover story today, they came out with a really cool article that introduces us to the 8 Barons of Destiny 2 Forsaken. So these are the guys that are working for Uldren Sov. These are the big baddies of Destiny 2 Forsaken that we're going to be hunting down. So I want to read this little intro here. So at the start of Destiny 2 Forsaken's campaign, Uldren Sov, the Prince of the Reef, shoots Cade 6 dead, obviously. This sets him up as the main antagonist you'll be taking revenge against in Forsaken, but Cade doesn't die by his hand alone. To pull off the feat, he has help from the Barons, a group of powerful Scorn enemies. Hunting down the Barons comprises a large part of your journey through the initial campaign, and each has their own story, traits, and boss encounter, making them some of Destiny 2's most interesting foes yet. So this is the part that I wanted to hone in on here, Brent. Each has their own story, their own traits, and a boss encounter, making them some of Destiny 2's most interesting foes yet. So that's what makes me think, like, the way this game's going to be set up is you're going to go through those initial story missions, you're going to get into the world proper, and then at some point the game's going to unleash you onto the Tangled Shore and be like, look, here's the 8 Barons, here's where they're located around the map. You need to activate whatever mission you're looking to do, and then you need to go hunt down this Baron and kill him. You're going to go through a series of quests or story missions that involve that, and it's all going to culminate in a battle with these Barons, a battle which looks to be different from each Baron that you come across.
Yeah.
Is that kind of your read on how you think this will play out as well?
Yeah, I mean, no. My first question is: have they mentioned how many story missions will be in this thing yet? Have they gone?
I have not seen an official number.
See, I'm wondering if I think it'd be kind of cool. Is that okay? So they bring up the Tangled Shore and like, okay, here are the locations where you can start the mission for whatever particular Baron you're going after, and then when you start that mission, you play through the first part of the mission, find out a little bit about the character, and then much like the campaign in Destiny 2, another mission will pop out, like some sub missions for the actual mission. So you go to one Baron, and maybe there's like 2, 3, or 4, maybe even 4 like sub missions to actually get to the final Baron. That would be fantastic, because if you have essentially, I'm just saying this is what I would love to see. I'm not saying this is what it is, but man, if you have 8 Barons and each one had like 2 to 3 sub missions, you do the math. That's a ton of missions to do, which would be unprecedented for a Destiny DLC expansion. But that's what I would like to see. But like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if you just go in there and maybe start the mission up, and then it's a longer mission to reach the Baron. But I would love to see like some sub missions that actually lead to the Baron.
Yeah, now I got something else I'm gonna ask you about that momentarily once we get to it here. But yeah, so I'm gonna be very interested to see how this game is structured. So what Bungie did with Game Informer was they gave them some in-depth official info on each of these barons that are going to be in this game. So let's run through these guys now. So first and foremost, let's talk a little about who the barons are. So the barons were once a hodgepodge of lowly dregs of all things.
Dregs.
Yeah, cast out from the upstart House of Exile, forsaken and scorned by their own Elixni comrades, and with no one to depend on but each other. They didn't just survive; they thrived through ingenuity, ruthlessness, and teamwork. They raided their fallen brethren's encampments, stealing ether and growing ever stronger. They pillaged and terrorized awoken outposts throughout the post-Taken War Reef. I love this part here. Like the cowboys of Tombstone, they became the scourge of the Reef, overpowering other gangs of fallen pirates and scavengers, and rendering the once flourishing homeland of the Awoken into a lawless frontier. This sounds like my kind of badass group of dudes here, man.
I like it, man. This is a bunch of scoundrels, the worst of the worst, the cowboys.
Yeah.
I love that reference to the cowboys in Tombstone.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you reference Tombstone in any way, shape, or form,
that's
like,
awesome.
I'm a fan. Yeah. So now let's talk about each of these barons, Brent. So first and foremost, we have the Fanatic. So this guy's name is Fickrel. He's the leader of the barons and the dark, corrupted evolution of the Elixni, known as the Scorn. Second only to Prince Uldren Sov, he views his Scorn as an evolution of the Fallen and the final manifestation of what they were always meant to be, eternal. So this is the probably the most striking looking of the barons. This is the guy with the weird Forsaken symbol for a head.
Yeah.
You know, so this guy is clearly bad news. He's second only to Uldren. So we know Uldren is basically the Kell of the Scorn at this point, and this is like his second in command. So this seems like this is going to be a bad dude here. Then we have the Machinist. This guy's name is Alicris, second in command of the Fanatic, and his most ardent follower. An expert in munitions, weapon crafting, and in charge of the siege on the Redacted. Interesting. She's an insatiable thief and hoarder with a terrifying arsenal. So her shtick looks to be like just her kind of amalgamation of all these weapons and things that she's concocted. But very interesting looking enemy there. And then we've got the Mindbender, not Dr. Mindbender, but the next closest thing. So
Arbender?
Arbender, maybe. Yeah. Dude, I love Dr. Mindbender and G.I. Joe. One of my favorite dudes. He had some great lines, especially in G.I. Joe the movie. I mean, he really took it home, man. But anyways, the Mindbender, Hyrax, a mad genius who has been changed by his research into the Hive and their dark religion, and has somehow found a means of exercising control over Hive combatants. This dude's really interesting. Then we have the Trickster, who basically sounds like the Joker. So this is Araxes, a silver-tongued manipulator and con artist with a high opinion of herself. The Trickster has a penchant for deadly sleight of hand and prefers to work behind the scenes when it comes to the Baron's operations. She does all she can to stay out of sight, is known for duping others into doing her dirty work.
Oh my.
Interesting. Then we have the Hangman, Brent.
Yes.
This is Rekis Vaughn, a silent sadist known for his penchant for docking and tearing ether generators from the cores of servitors with his bare hands. This dude just sounds like a psycho. His obsession with torturing servitors is unprecedented in the history of the Elixni.
Dude, did you see the gif of this guy? Like where he appears and then he wields that mace on the ground and this huge explosion of fire just comes along this path. Oh my god, this guy looks badass.
Yeah, he looks really cool, man. I can't wait to see what his business is all about. Then we've got the Mad Bomber. This guy's name is Canix, a bombastic thrill seeker for whom self-preservation is an afterthought. The lunatic known as the Mad Bomber is willing to blow an entire location to smithereens just to kill his target. So this guy, clearly a psycho. And then we have the Rifleman, Pyrrha, an all-seeing sniper who watches his brother Baron's backs. Man, say that 5 times fast. The Rifleman keeps his targets at a distance, plays real dirty, and never misses his shot. Brilliant, cold, and patient. More than one of the Rifleman's notches is a Guardian's ghost.
Wow.
That guy means business. And last but certainly not least, Brent, we have the Rider. This is Yavix, an anarchist biker and leader of her own gang of pike riders. The rider raises fields and pollutes the air everywhere she and her gang run. She's a master mechanic who's taken the fallen heavy pike and made it better. Much, much better. As in, like, flaming trails that fly out of this thing. So, Brent, there you have it. Those are our 8 Barons, a very brief introduction to them. And I do encourage you, if you enjoy the lore of Destiny, go to Game Informer's article and read the history and the story of each of these Barons. Very, very interesting stuff. Some things that I can't wait to learn more about in the game itself, hopefully. I'm sure there'll be tons of lore in there about these guys. Mm-hmm. But Brent, for you,
and just so you guys know, I'm sorry to cut you off. The link to that story will be below in the description below. Okay. We'll have the link to Game Informer for that story, as well as their hub for everything Destiny 2 Forsaken.
Awesome. So Brent, out of these 8 Barons that we've learned about today, who's tickling your fancy here, man?
Dude, the Hangman for starters. Okay, the Hangman looks like a badass. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to kill the Hangman or be like, dude, can I join up with you? Like, seriously, I think you and I, we could run this whole galaxy, man. You know, Cade's gone. I have no Vanguard to go to. I'm kind of rogue anyways, so let's you and I side up and we're good to go. But no, the Hangman looks badass. Mindbender looks cool. And I did forget about the Rifleman. The fact that it's going to be like a sniper battle is going to be awesome. That's going to be very intense. It's going to be very taut. And I love sniping in Destiny 2. And I love the fact that this is going to be a 1v1 sniper battle on what looks to be a very open area. So there's going to be a little bit of cover here and there, but you're going to have to like find the enemy on a large location. So those are the 3 that really stand out to me, dude. Yeah,
I love the Rifleman as well, being able to have that sniper battle. And that's one of the cool things that they've talked about with the Barons. Like, they each have kind of their own encounter and their own style about them.
Yep.
So to be in a sniper battle with the Rifleman sounds like that's going to be incredibly awesome. Can't wait to see how that plays out. And in the spirit of that, we have the Rider, who from the brief little clip that they show on Game Informer's website here, it looks like you're going to be battling the Rider on a pike.
Yes.
So you're going to be chasing her around the map as she's driving around, trying to take her down with your own pike. So that obviously nothing like that in Destiny right now in terms of like a boss battle. So that seems like that's going to be really cool. I'm very curious to see the Mad Bomber as well. So a big part of the Prison of Elders was dismantling those bombs.
Yep.
And it sounds like there's going to be something like that as a part of this experience with the Mad Bomber. So once again, it lends itself to a different type of experience than we've seen, than we typically see, especially in a boss encounter. But we haven't seen bombs since the Prison of Elders, basically, in Destiny 1. So it sounds like they're going to make a return in some kind of form here with the Mad Bomber. But and then of course you got the big dude at the end of all this, the Fanatic. So just the way he looks, I just can't wait to battle him. It just seems like that's going to be sweet to finally come toe to toe with that dude and give him the business. But yeah, truth be told, all of these Barons sound really, really interesting. They've all got some really cool backstories and some history about them that I can't wait to see more about. It sounds like most of them were placed in the Prison of Elders at the hand of Cade. So that they're all kind of itching to get out and get their revenge on him, which of course they help facilitate. So the other thing I want to ask you about with these guys, Brent, is if you'll notice in the clips that they show. So for the battle against the Fanatic, the symbol for the story in that clip looks like an actual like story mission.
Yeah,
it's the Forsaken symbol.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the Forsaken symbol, so looks like this is going to be like an official story mission. I'm guessing that you will have to encounter the Fanatic before you go and face Prince Uldren, of course. And then if you look at the rest of the Barons that are underneath him, so we know he's the leader, but everybody else appears to be an adventurer, or they have that symbol for adventure next to their name. So I do wonder that if you before you can face the Fanatic, before you can continue on in the story mission and go and face Prince Uldren, like maybe do you have to go do all these adventures for all the different Barons that are on the map and take these guys out before that mission opens up? And also, just going back to what you talked about previously with the different submissions and things, typically when you do an adventure, that's exactly what they are. Like you go on one part of the adventure, you're seeking out something, or you're going to some location, and once you get there, it opens up the next part of the mission, and so on and so forth. So there's all these kind of little like submissions within adventures typically. So maybe these will just play out like that, like those kind of adventures, just with a boss encounter at the end.
I'd be cool with that. Like I said, that's cool because like the adventures, again, those are like longer missions with multiple missions in between. You do one thing and says, okay, here's your new objective, go do this. So as long as these adventures are or lengthy. I don't expect them to be super long. I mean, again, this is just an expansion. There's going to be a lot of stuff to do outside of the story. The focus is going to be end-game content with the raid, with Gambit and everything else, possibly new escalation mode. But, adventures are a decent length, and that's what I want. And if there's 8 of them, or be 7 adventures, those are going to be lengthy. Then you're going to have your final mission at the end. Then, obviously, whatever you're going to do with Aldrin, I mean, that's going to be another mission as well. So there's going to be a lot to do here. And if these are playing out like adventures, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I want to see. I want to see, like you said, some lengthy story missions, and I want to see some actual story in here as well, some lore, some things that we learn about these characters. I really want them to hone in on the story of each of these guys and kind of exploring that. I think that would make for a really, really cool structure to this campaign. So,
and that's one thing they talked about in this Insight developer video that came out this week as well. They talk about the this is a high-stakes story, not about saving the universe, but it's more of a personal story. So they're trying to make this like a much stronger narrative. And I know when we talk about Destiny 2 narrative or Destiny narrative in general, we always kind of like, oh, what narrative? But they're really putting the focus here. I mean, they also mentioned, was the death of Cade 6 shock value? And then they said, no, it's not. This is to make the universe more rich, to see other people's reactions, other characters' reactions to Cade's death. Like, I want to see how Zavala responds to Cade. I mean, every time Zavala would talk to Cade, there was always kind of like this father-son relationship. Like, he's like, get out of here, and then of course, Ikora and Cade always locked horns, but there was always kind of a playful relationship. So seeing how they react to it is going to be crucial for the narrative. All characters are conflicted, they said, trying to resolve an internal conflict. So depth to the characters, even to Aldrin, even to the Barons. Everyone's going to have some depth. Everyone's going to be conflicted in some way. So those are some of the things I took from that developer that really stood out to me. That there's a lot more focus on the narrative here than I thought there would be. I mean, I knew there'd be something strong with Cade, but it's everything around it, everything that happens to how everyone reacts to Cade, how the world reacts, what's going to happen. I really like what I'm hearing here in terms of the narrative.
Yeah. I like that as well. Everything, the way everything's kind of panning out so far definitely speaks to me. I'm very, very interested in the story and the way that they're going to handle this. Like I said, especially the structure of this, like how this is all going to play out. Can't wait to see like kind of how they manipulate this thing and deliver it to us. And another thing on there, Brent, I've been watching a number of videos this week on who's going to replace Cade as the Hunter Vanguard. And there's basically 4 contenders as we see it right now. So there's Lady Aphrodite of the Iron Lords. There's Eris Morn, of course, the crazy Hive lady. There's Anna Bray, of course, the voice of Rasputin, and then the guy who many think is the only logical answer on who to replace Cade, and that's Shiro 4. From the Iron Temple, if you remember, in Destiny 1.
Yep.
But Shiro is a hunter. He's basically Cade's right-hand man. He has a good relationship with Cade. He has a good relationship with the Vanguard. He's a Vanguard scout, as we know it right now. So he basically goes out in the world on the missions that they send him out on. And just to briefly touch on this, Lady Aphrodite is at the edge of the universe as part of a pacifist clan right now. Eris Morn is out seeking out the Hive, as she typically does, and Anna Bray is the voice of Rasputin right now, so she has a role and a post to fill on Mars right now. So it seems, Brent, like Shiro could be the logical replacement for Cade 6, but I ask you this: Can Shiro fill Cade's shoes? Like, is that a role that he can step into and perform?
Obviously, it's a big role for him to step into, but the fact that he was Cade's right hand man, there's that relationship there, and maybe there's something where he's gonna like, hey, look, I'm gonna do my best to fill in for Cade. Cade was my friend. Cade and I have been through a lot together. I think that's really cool. I think that's a dynamic they can really do to build his character up to help him replace Cade.
Yeah, so that's another thing that would be really interesting to see them explore here. Like, will they explore a guy like Shiro, if he's going to be the one to replace Cade? Will he show up in this DLC? Like, will we see his story, or just one day is he just going to show up in the tower like, hey, I'm here to replace Cade? Like,
if I'm going based on previous Destiny narratives, I would say it's the latter, where he's just going to show up like, hey, I'm the new Cade here.
Yeah. So I hope that if they do decide to replace Cade like sooner rather than later, or else just pass his responsibilities off maybe to Ikora for the future. I mean, Ikora doesn't do anything right now, but give us the meditations, which don't do anything. So they could very easily transfer Cade's responsibilities to her in the tower right now, and maybe we don't have a Hunter Vanguard until maybe the next expansion or something like that. Maybe they plan to unveil a new Vanguard down the line. But if they do plan to replace Cade, either at the end of Forsaken or sometime during this year of Destiny, I would hope that they explore this as a part of the narrative of the game. I think that would be really, really, really cool if they did something like that.
I have a question for you, man. At the beginning of all this, at the reveal of Forsaken, you were like, nope, Cade will be back. Cade will be back in some form. Are you still feeling strong about that, or are you starting to worry that maybe this is going to be a permanent thing? You know, and Bungie has said so, but I know for a while there you weren't quite buying into it. But how do you feel now that the more we learned?
I'm still not 100% bought into the fact that we'll never see Cade again. Here's the thing, man. Nathan Fillion is irreplaceable. Like, no one can do what Nathan Fillion can do, and certainly not Shiro from what we've seen of him. Like, he seems like a very dry, boring character.
Right.
So in a game that doesn't have a lot of great characters as it is, in a game where they've got a lot of work to do with some of these other characters to make us invest and care in them the way that we did for Cade, it's hard for me to believe that they're just gonna pass this guy by the wayside and we never see him again, just because he meant so much to the game. And like I said, for all intents and purposes, he was the one character that everybody gave a damn about. He was the one guy that everybody liked. Now, everything that they've said and everything that they're hammering to us is the fact that Cade is gone. The story, the narrative, the lore of Destiny says that Cade is gone. Like, once the XO dies, like that's it. So it's becoming more and more of a long shot as we go on here that Cade returns. But like I said, man, I would not be shocked at all if we get some kind of like special ending to Forsaken, and after the credits roll, we zoom in on the decimated prison of elders, and the camera like pans in to Cade's ghost sitting there, and then we see like a light flash on or something like that.
Just a little flicker and then cut away.
Yeah. Or something like that.
I want to believe that you're right. And first of all, Rolling Whale, welcome to the chat, welcome to the discussion, man. Good to hear from you. Taco00 says rest in peace. So obviously he believes Cade's gone. But it's the thing that makes me wonder about it as well is like, I think from a narrative perspective, if Bungie wants to score big with this, I think they have to stick to their guns. I think they have to leave Cade dead. But that makes me think, man, outside of your ghost, there's no one that provides any like levity to any moments or any situations in the story. There's no, it doesn't have that humor to it that makes it so endearing, that makes it so you don't take it too seriously. You don't want to take Destiny super, super serious. Okay, you don't want to take it that way. I want to have those moments of levity, and like you said, Nathan Fillion was that guy, was the person that brought that to the character. And Shiro obviously isn't going to be that, and Ghost to a degree can do that. But you need somebody in the tower that's going to be entertaining, that's going to kind of bring a goosey in the style, but make you chuckle once in a while.
Yeah, man. I mean, Zavala and Ikora are pretty straight-laced people. Like, they're not going to be...
You won't be seeing Zavala cracking jokes and or anything like that.
Yeah, you won't see too many jokes coming out of those two, and it's just one of those things, man, where it's like, okay, be careful what you wish for. All right, like we want the stakes raised, and we want this awesome story, and we have the potential to get that for Forsaken. But at some point, Brent, like, this is going to pass. Like, we're going to be done with Forsaken. We're going to be deep into the second year of Destiny 2, and we're all going to be sitting there like, man, I sure miss Cade. There's nobody that does what Cade does, and at some point, the community is going to be like, man, it would be nice to have him back. Like, who is going to make fun of Eris in the next DLC once we go back to Saturn, to the Dreadnought?
Right.
Like, Eris is depressing enough as it is. We got to imagine that she's going to make some kind of an appearance. I imagine she's floating around the hive somewhere over there. So if she returns and like, who's going to make fun of her? Ghost? I mean, maybe, but man, you gotta have Cade for stuff like that. So
here's my question to you, man. Taco just asked us in the chat, and I think he must have just shown up a little bit late where we talked about the possibilities, but he wants to know, who do you think will replace the Hunter Vanguard, or if there will be any more Hunter Vanguard at all? Do you think one of those four that you mentioned will replace them, or do you think they'll just, like you said, maybe they'll pass on the Hunter Vanguard and Ikora will just take over the responsibilities? What do you think is the more likely scenario?
I think eventually we will get a replacement for the Hunter Vanguard. And I think if we do, like you mentioned, the logical choice is Shiro. But I think it would be cool if maybe they explore that a little bit in the story of Forsaken. Maybe we get some out of left field pick that nobody saw coming, and we see them become the Hunter Vanguard. Who knows? But I do think Cade will be replaced at some point as the Hunter Vanguard, or maybe like I was saying, man, maybe that camera pans in, maybe we see the little flicker from the ghost, and by the time we get to the third DLC of Destiny 3, Nathan Fillion's back and Cade returns as Cade 7 or whatever, and returns to his post as the Hunter Vanguard. Like something like that could happen. But I do think that that's a long shot at this point, and I do think that from everything I've read and from everything that I understand about the history of Hunters and how the Vanguard works, it does seem like Shiro is the logical replacement for Cade. He makes the most sense in terms of the actual game. Nathan Fillion has huge shoes to fill in that role, and I just don't know if Shiro's up to the task for that. And so that they've got to make him a more interesting character if he's going to step into that role.
Agreed.
So, a few last things we want to touch on here, Brent, before we wrap up. We talked about this before, but there actually will be a world's first for the Prestige raid layer. So, Bungie mentioned when they talked about this, they were like, hey, we're just going to put the raid layers out. They're going to change from week to week with the new modifiers anyway, so there's really no need for us to do a world's first. But the community, they said they would solicit feedback from the community. The community was like, hey, we want to do world's first for these Prestige raid layers. So, bada boom, bada bing. World's first coming back for the Prestige raid layer. So what we have here now, Eater of Worlds, the Prestige version of this will go live on July 17th at 11 a.m. And they did this, they set this to go an hour after the update for the game comes. So update 1.2.3, faction rallies, all that kind of stuff hits on July 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And they'll have the raid go live at 11 a.m. Pacific time just to make sure that there's no issues with the update going live, so that people can get ready for the raid layer there. And then the very next day on July 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Spire of Stars Prestige raid layer will go live. So they will do a world's first for both of those raid layers. And I guess my question with this, Brent, is will there now be a world's first every single week for the raid layer, or you think this is just like a one-time thing they're going to do for the community?
I think it'll just be a one-time thing. The world's first should be a rare occurrence. It shouldn't happen every single week. I think that kind of takes away from the excitement of it. So, no, I don't think it'll be a weekly thing.
And I think that's kind of what they were getting at to begin with the way that they were doing the Prestige raid layer. It's like, look, this is going to change every single week. We don't really feel like we need one of these, but the community is like, hey, we want to do it. So the activity isn't really changing anyway, other than just the different loadouts. So, so c'est la vie. We'll see what their plan is moving forward. And it sounds like, from the hint that they give, one of the weapon slots will be taken up by a pulse rifle. This is the hint. I've been looking out for my time-worn Spire. I feel an autumn wind blowing.
Ooh,
so autumn wind, and time-worn Spire, 2 pulse rifles in Destiny 2. So we can expect that to be one of the loadouts. And finally, Brent, a very exciting weekend coming ahead for Destiny Crucible players. This is from Kevin Yanis, Senior Crucible Designer. While some of us at Bungie are off on holiday to celebrate our country's independence, we wanted to make sure all Guardians in Destiny 2 had something to celebrate, starting this Friday, 7/6, at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and lasting through the weekly recess. This goes all the way until Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Players may earn 3 times Valor rank gains in all Valor-supported playlists.
Wow.
If you want to nab that exotic ghost or are looking to finish your Crucible ornaments, this weekend is the time to throw down in the Crucible. So, Brent, needless to say, I will be dipping my toe into the Crucible. I've got a lot of work to do with Valor. We've been spending a lot of our time in the competitive playlist this season. We've got a lot of work to do with that Valor rank, and I can think of no better time than a triple gain weekend this weekend. Sounds like a plan to me. What about you, man?
Yeah, I'm down for that. I've got most of the Crucible gear, so I'd like to start earning those ornaments and complete that set. So that'll give me a little incentive there. And obviously the Valor rank, not as appealing as the Glory rank, but it'll be nice to get that Valor rank up to get that exotic ghost. Yeah.
And with that, Brent, that is going to do it for us. Thanks to everybody who stopped by the chat. Thanks for everybody who watched the video. If you like what we do here on Tower Talk, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, hop into the videos like all these guys have been doing. We really appreciate you guys joining us for the video here. Obviously, there's going to be a lot going on with the cover story of Game Informer and Destiny 2 Forsaken. So we'll be back with lots of Tower Talks throughout this month to kind of chime in with our thoughts on and keep you guys up to date on all the latest Destiny 2 news that's out there. Our Twitter handles are right underneath us here, so make sure you follow us there. Follow us at The Short Pause so you always know when we're doing videos as well. Other than that, Brent, anything else?
No, thanks to Taco, Rolling Whale, Dark Shadow Wolf, Jacob was in the chat, Jonathan was in the chat. Thank you guys very much. We really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.